Welcome to the 20th Bridge Film Festival Judges' Choice Awards, direct from the Brooklyn Friends School Meetinghouse Theater, hosted by Alexei Brusiloff, with special guest appearances by the Panthers Supreme dance team, Friends Council on Education's Executive Director Drew Smith, and renowned documentarian Ken Burns. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Give it up for the Panthers Supreme dance team! My name's Alexei Brusiloff, and I'm going to be your host for tonight. And I welcome you to Brooklyn Friends School and the 20th Annual Bridge Film Festival Judges' Choice Awards. There we go! 20 years. I mean, 20 years is a long time. I remember 20 years ago. I was,
in your mother's womb.
Yep. Well, the 20 years, that is a long time. And that year, 1999, Andy Cohen, our very own Andy Cohen, founded the Bridge Film Festival. You know, that was before most of you were born, actually. And, you know, ever since then, we've been using the Bridge Film Festival to try and make a tribute to the power of, you know, the art of film. And we've been letting, how would you say, we've been letting our films speak for over 20 years, yeah. So, thank you, Andy Cohen, for founding this and giving students the opportunity to let their voice speak. We have a very special guest here today, Drew Smith, the Executive Director of the Friends Council on Education.
All right.
So why don't you come up here and say a few words?
Sorry I'm so far back. Making it more dramatic. That's right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I'm just here to thank all of you and Andy for a few specific things. If you don't know what Friends Council Education is, there are 78 Quaker schools in the United States. We're in one of them now, and I have the pleasure of working with all of them. In my opinion, this kind of collaboration is the future of Friends Education, connecting students, faculty members, boards across our geographic divides. And this, the Bridge Film Festival, Andy, you're like an extra early adopter of all of what I think are the important trends that are coming, using technology to connect us, and especially to connect our hearts and minds. to change the world through the power of Quaker education. So thank all of you filmmakers. It's been a pleasure to be here for the screenings. I think it's the first time I've been to screenings in person. And a special thank you to Andy Cohen. You're everything that Quaker education's about. So.
Thank you so much, Drew, for those inspiring words. We have another message from another very special guest.
Hi, I'm Ken Burns. I've been making documentary films for more than 40 years, and I can tell you, teaching media literacy and socially responsible filmmaking to students of all ages has never been more important. Since 2000, the Bridge Film Festival has provided a forum for dialogue, learning, and the exchange of ideas on diversity, serving student filmmakers across an international network of Quaker educational institutions. The festival is committed to nurturing filmmaking that communicates messages of conscience. Guided by the Quaker principles of truth, community, equality, and peace, the festival gives voice to student expression and recognizes creative achievement. Let your film speak.
Thank you so much, Ken Burns, for that really inspiring message. I'm sorry we had to trim the clip a little bit. The original was 7 hours. Anyway, about those awards.
The festival judges evaluate films based on communication, creativity, technical quality, Quaker relevancy, and originality. There are awards for documentary, narrative, new media, public service announcement, and the Festival Executive Committee chooses the winner of the coveted Spirit of the Festival Award.
So we've got our first category right over here, documentary. Now, I like documentaries because in them you don't actually have to memorize your lines. Paul.
And the nominees are.
And the nominees are.
Since my mom doesn't speak very much English, my dad, he speaks mostly, or like half Korean, half English to me. Especially once we moved to New Jersey, there wasn't a big Korean community. It was just where I live is a very affluent white community, so not that many people know about Korean culture, and even if they are Korean, they don't speak Korean.
Even if we were just playing games or just picking them up or drawing with them, it was like we still knew exactly what the other were feeling, whether that be through facial expression or sounds or emotion or just our actions. It was amazing because it just kind of shows you that our similarities are greater than our differences, no matter what we look like or where we're from.
What's up, Quakers? What's up? Today, we're here in Bristol, and we're interested in what stewardship means to the Quaker community and Moses Brown in general. And so to do that, we're going to be following the Moses Brown Arboretum Immersion and see how they take care of trees at the Blythewold Mansion. Let's go explore.
All right, well, those were the nominees, and now we'll announce the actual awards. And the George School, please stand. Now, come on up here and accept your award. Now, we don't actually have a name for the award yet. Come on up. We don't actually have a name for the award yet. We were considering Georgie, because of George Fox, the Quaker founder. How do you guys feel about that?
Georgie!
Georgie? All right. So here's your Georgie. And before you say your thank yous, would you like to give us a few words about what inspired you to make this film?
Sure. Well, I took a service trip with my school this summer to Rwanda, and I had an incredible experience, and I wanted to be able to share some of that with my film. And a lot of the research that we did before going to Rwanda was that it was a really dangerous country. It was really hostile, with the 1994 genocide. It was something really terrible happened. So a lot of us are really kind of scared. We had to get a lot of vaccines to avoid some diseases, and that was the kind of mindset that we had going into it. But when we arrived, it was the most peaceful. It was the most loving country that I've ever seen, and I was just truly shocked by it, and I wanted to just share that experience.
Now the next category is narrative? Narrative. Now, a while ago, there was this aspiring filmmaker. His name was Alex, and he sought out to make the best film ever made. He wanted it to be greater than the Iliad, more epic than the Odyssey. The only problem was he didn't know where to start. And so, this person, who is not me, he got a job. He was going to host an award ceremony and look for inspiration in other people's films. He was going to be the greatest of all time.
Time for recess, everyone! Yay! Time for recess! Yay! Recess! So ready for kickball! Pick teams! I get first pick! I'll get May. Hurry up, y'all! This is taking forever!
Can you just take those off for a second so I could talk to you about something?
Yeah, what's up?
Well, last night your advisor called and wanted to, discuss your semester grades. It seems that she's a little worried.
By that you mean?
I mean that she claims that your grades have dropped from all A's to B's and an A, one A I think, and an A and a C.
Okay, and?
Well, I guess like what's your thoughts on this?
What do you want me to say?
Each time a man stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance.
All right, class, so for this assignment, I want you to be inspired by RFK's work and his legacy. To that end, I'm going to have you make a short documentary about a human rights defender in your community, but I want it to be something that speaks to you and makes you believe that you can defend human rights in your community.
And the Georgie goes to Friends Academy, Olivia. Now, unfortunately, I was warned about this beforehand. They actually couldn't be here to accept their Georgie, but they did pre-record their acceptance speech, just in case.
Hi, I'm Erica.
I'm Isabella.
And I'm Lucy.
Thank you so much, Bridge Film Festival, for giving our film Oblivion the opportunity to be entered into this amazing film festival. We are so honored that we have won this award, and we are so grateful.
This film is really about life in school for us. It's really about what we see every day and how important it is to reach out to people, because no matter how many times they say they're okay, a lot of the times they're not.
We're so sorry we can't be there tonight, but again, we're so grateful and thank you for this opportunity. Go Quakers!
Yay!
Thank you. Now the next category is new media.
Oh, yes.
I don't like new media. I prefer old media. I don't use that Instagram thing. I communicate with my friends telepathically.
Wow.
I prefer that. Sometimes I just use straight up snail mail. But it works. It works surprisingly well. If a while back I sent a message to my friend asking if he wanted to see the new Avengers movie, and guess what? We're going to see Infinity War tonight. So
Wait.
no spoilers.
First day at a new school again.
Look at the new kid. Look at her clothes. Hey, new kid, where'd you get that shirt?
Oh, ow.
I can't believe they even let you into the school wearing that thing. Did you hear that? It was so mean. We should do something.
Didn't the dean say she was taking requests for the next assembly's topic?
Hi. Hi. We've been seeing some bullying happening with other students, and we were thinking you could do like an assembly.
Later that week, an anti-bullying assembly was held.
So be a friend, not foe.
When someone's not looking, always do the right thing, even if a teacher's not nearby. Doing the right thing when no one's watching.
Think about others. Doing the right thing even when no one's watching.
Proving or doing the right thing for yourself.
Believing the idea that you have responsibility in what you do.
Integrity is important because it's important to know yourself before you know others. Yeah, and your community.
Integrity is more to yourself.
Introducing Philly Xylophone the shrimp, Lucius the lobster, Cash Money the clam, Sylvester the oyster, and Tilly the stingray. Please welcome Crustacean Station.
Herbs and spices, A to Z, but we're gonna tell you about 60Z.
I don't need your opinion, hun. Don't tell me about moderation. We don't spend money on saffron. If you're selfish, please be gone. Keeping things easy, getting rid of negativity. While you all be stressing, I'm sipping on simplicity.
Give it up. And the Georgie goes to...
Please stop.
Integrity, art school.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Now, would you like to tell us a little bit about what inspired you guys to make this film?
What inspired us to make this film? I think that the main thing that inspired us to make this film is just talking about like how fast we grow up, how fast, like I've been on this earth 15 years, she's been on this earth 16 years, and it's crazy to think like how fast it's all gone. So we interviewed 10 different kids from an elementary school in our area, having them talk about integrity, but kind of with the undertone of like what, how they've matured over the years and how fast like time goes and how our opinions change over time.
Yeah, it kind of also came from the fact that, well, it started off on the basis of just integrity because that was the assignment. We were all assigned a spice and we had integrity. And it was supposed to be a PSA, but then we were also supposed to do like an introduction. We kind of combined them in a way. And I think just on the basis of growing up and also I have two little brothers, both who go to that school, and just thinking about how through the years my definition of integrity has changed so much, and also my just perception of the world in general. And I kind of just wanted to capture that in a film. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, the next category is PSA, that's right. I actually didn't know what PSA stood for until I started writing this joke. So, at first, I thought, that I'd watch a few PSAs. I'd look them up. And so I looked it up, and then I came to the conclusion that maybe it stood for people saying anything. But, I dug a little bit deeper, and I thought maybe it stood for Positive Student Association? And then my sister came into the room after hearing me work on this joke for 6 hours, and she said, "Please stop Alexei." And I think that's what it should stand for. Please stop Alexei. So here are the nominees for Please Stop Alexei.
Where do you think you're going, Shrimp? I'm not going. Give me your lunch money. Here you go. Okay, my fault. Okay, bye. Where do you think you're going, Shrimp? Okay, I just wanted water. You're gonna get some. Leave me alone.
Wow, this is totally not alright. I wonder what I can do to help.
Come on, man. Sorry. Hi.
Don't be the next one. New Garden Friends School.
Does this look familiar to you? To many people, this is a common picture and often causes unnecessary stress. We only have so much time and mental energy every day. A little less screen time, a few less toys, and a slight decrease in spending contribute to a simpler way of living. Here's how.
And the Georgie goes to George School. I'm starting to think of another reason to call it the Georgie. Thank you so much. Would you like? Of course.
I love you, Wop.
Love you too. Just to keep everything simple, I would like to thank my teacher Scott. Oh my God, I'm so nervous. And also my film partner Leah, who unfortunately can't be here today. And then special thanks to her beautiful hands. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, the next category is Spirit of the Festival. Now, this is the big one. This is like the, the big one at the Oscars. But this is the one that encompasses all of these, different categories that we've created for the awards, and really embodies, the spirit of the festival. We're actually going to see the film before we give out the award, and so without further ado, here's the spirit of the festival.
Each time a man stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring. Those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance.
All right, class, so for this assignment, I want you to be inspired by RFK's work and his legacy. To that end, I'm going to have you make a short documentary about a human rights defender in your community, but I want it to be something that speaks to you and makes you believe that you can defend human rights in your community.
I wasn't sure which human right to decide for my project, so I spoke to my friends about it to see which one would be best. Then, after some research, I decided to go with Article 19, freedom of speech, since I think it really resonated with me and my experience as a Black woman. Afterwards, I went to my advisor, Rebecca, and we discussed more about the University Declaration of Human Rights and the freedom of speech, and she brought up a fascinating name that was shockingly familiar, Rodney Glasgow. And then I remembered that I met him at the diversity conference earlier this year, and eager to learn more about what he had to say about the freedom of speech, I reached out to him to talk, and he said yes.
Right.
That makes any sense.
It does.
So why do you think freedom of speech is so important?
Freedom itself is important. Speech is important, so freedom of speech would be important. But also words have an immense power, and if you take away my ability to use words, to say words, then you impact my ability to think words, and you impact my ability to act upon my thoughts. It is an enslavement to take away freedom of speech. I protect people's right to speak their truths, but I also protect people's rights not to be spoken to in certain ways, not to have certain things spoken at them, not to hear certain things in the hallway. So there is freedom of speech, but I think people confuse freedom of speech with the right to say anything I want to whomever I want, and I am down the middle in that. So my job is to empower you to say what you want to say, but also not to empower you to say those things that you shouldn't be saying, because in that way speech can be like violence. Saying something to you like that could be the same as slapping you in the face. And when we think about the brain, what is interesting is the brain doesn't register that as any different. The pain you would feel if I were to slap you in the face is the same pain you would feel if I said something to you that hurt you to your core.
So how do you think a student my age could possibly fight for their freedom of speech?
Keep speaking, refuse to be silent. Don't always think getting louder means being heard. There is the power in a whisper, but a whisper is not the same as silence. It is a form of love to hear each other when it's difficult, when you have to strain, when you have to focus. It's one thing to hear me when it's easy. It's one thing to hear me when I'm shouting, but if somebody tries to take your speech, our inclination is to keep shouting. And part of that is great, and that's empowering, but also to keep speaking even when no one's listening, because someone will hear you. And so thinking about, just because no one is listening to me now, does that mean I should stop speaking, right? What would happen if I just kept talking? What would happen if I just kept speaking? What would happen if I refused to be silent?
Thank you. That was amazing. Like that was wow. I chose Rodney as my human rights defender because when I heard him speak for the first time at the diversity conference, I felt he was speaking to me and to my story, and to my experience. And he's speaking to thousands of other young people that were listening, dying to be heard. When Rodney fights for the freedom of speech every single day in his line of work, he fights for our stories to be told, our experience to be heard, and our presence to be acknowledged.
All right, I'm super excited to see your final projects today. So our first documentary about a human rights defender will be Jalsa's. Welcome.
For the spirit of the festival. It was really an amazing film. If the filmmaker would please come up and say something. So, could you explain to us, or
So the gag is, I didn't make the film. I'm just the girl in it. But John was a cinematographer, and the director couldn't be here tonight. But she wanted me to say thank you, Rodney. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, IB Film. Thank you for everyone who watched it, and just keep using your voices to do good, I guess.
Yeah, and thank you, Bridge Film Festival, for having us and the opportunity for this.
So it's really cool of you to be here and be a part of our little festival. You know, this festival means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to a lot of people in the audience. I really think that this is an important thing for us to have, to, you know, be able to express the power of storytelling with films. And so I want to give it up to my friend Andy Cohen for founding this film festival 20 years ago. And if you'd like to say a few words, please.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you very much to George School, especially for making the trip out here. I'd like to thank my incredible team of on the Film Festival Committee, Tanya Pinto, Paul Romano, and Larry Williams. Thank you very much. I also have to thank you very much, Drew, for coming up and supporting the festival as Friends Council has done throughout the 20 years. We started with a $1,000 grant from Friends Council on Education, and that was a seed that took root. And I just want to thank, because if I don't, I'll never hear the end of it. I want to thank my wife and my daughter for being here. Thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody.